Angela, how are things going? It has been just an amazingly, horribly busy year for me with all my personal stuff, and I can only imagine what it's been like for you. So, my first question is just how you're doing, how you're holding up through all the stress, good and bad.
I never know fully how to answer the question, how am I doing? Like it's just absolute insanity. We're going into, I don't know when this is going to air, but
Probably gonna get this up hopefully by Tuesday the 29th, certainly before Halloween. So
we're in the home stretch right before the election.
Yeah.
So it's insanity.
Yeah.
It's insanity. I'm working on getting some Chase Oliver ads up right now.
Yeah.
Which I think people will like, actually. You will like them. I have been working on getting Dan Smott's anti-war ads up at the last minute, Libertarian Unity ads.
Mm-hmm.
We're dealing with lawfare. I'm working on getting, more libertarian stuff over to the Trump campaign.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff to dive in on there. So
crazy.
Yeah. So let's just, I know the thing that's talked about a lot that, both the Trump campaign and the Oliver campaign. Let's start with the, Oliver Timrat campaign. My opinion on that, and I'm not expecting you to comment on what I'm about to say, but like, I think there was one of my favorite words is chicanery. The convention, through no fault of your own, but through just the way things worked out, a lot of people voted on that who, in my opinion, should not have been allowed to vote according to the rules. And so we end up with a bad candidate, in my opinion. And some people say, well, why is he a bad candidate? Well, he holds a lot of good libertarian positions, but the messaging is really bad. The stance on the, transing kids is just morally atrocious. And it's one of those things that I just can't get around. But is there any, I do give him credit for some things. Like, he's not, in some audiences, he's not a horrible candidate. So like, what positives are happening from the Chase Oliver campaign so far?
Let me think about how to say this as we go into the home stretch. Chase Oliver only pulls from the left and a particular demographic of the Libertarian Party, and maybe some OCD people. That's really it. People who are like OCD about their votes, and we're not going to have good numbers. I predict we're going to get 0.6% in the general election. A lot of that is due to Kennedy's presence. A lot of that is due to the fact that Trump supporters really do believe that Kamala Harris and the regime that props her up are going to steal the election. The video is circulating right now of a ballot box in Clark County, Washington, being lit on fire. People do genuinely believe that ballots are going to be trashed, tossed, not counted. Machines will be hacked. I don't know, but that's what people genuinely believe. Kamala Harris supporters genuinely believe that at the January 6th thing in 2020, they really think that Donald Trump told people to like storm the Capitol and, take over, and that the election was stolen. So people are very, very motivated to vote for Donald Trump and or Kamala Harris and her regime apparatus. And so that doesn't bode well for us. And we don't have a compelling, charismatic figure leading the charge on the libertarian ticket, and I don't say that to be mean. I don't say that as a personal dig. I will say that we weren't going to have that regardless of who we put up. We were not going to have a Dave Smith. We were not going to have a Harry Brown. We were not going to have that charisma, and we would have desperately needed it. So what's happening to Chase could have potentially happened to just about anyone. Maybe not Lars, because he had a ton of money. He might have done a little bit better just through the sheer like brute force of his purchasing power.
Yeah. Well, I was on record, well, not publicly, but with Mike Heiss and other people on the board and stuff before the election and like a year ago when Dave was still going to run, I was like, Dave's not even going to get 0.5% because of that same factor. Like, people will crawl across cut glass to vote for either Trump or Kamala in this thing because of the lawfare against Trump. Somebody, a normie, said to me, "Oh, look at the Trump mugshot. He's going to lose now." I'm like, "Are you kidding me? That's the best that's the best PR he could ever buy. That won him the election." And I think it's turning out to be right. So even with a great candidate like Dave Smith would have been, I think that the main thrust of a libertarian presidential campaign should have been education, of trying to wake up the people who are already libertarians, wake up the remnant, the people who are, there are a lot of people who are embarrassed to associate with the party after, JoJo and 4 years ago and different chairs in the past. And the Mises Caucus has gotten a lot of those people. So like, I think we would have taken a 0.5%, maybe with even Dave. So I'm going to take the way under and go like 0.25 on Chase. And it's sad that, and here's the one thing, the last thing I want to say about Chase is you said it about going to the only appealing to the left. And there's a lot of people when I was involved in the Ohio Party, 10 years ago, 6, 7, 8, 10 years ago, people always want to set up at like pride events. And it's like, well, in the 70s, when no political party was championing gay rights, that's a smart move. But right now, gays are a protected class, protected by the Democratic Party. So, and why should they give that up? So unless they're, an intellectual who reads Rothbard or Nozick or something like that, they just don't care.
I mean, it's brand. It's like the hetero form of white guilt.
Yeah.
You got to go and you got to say, look, see, yeah. I embrace it. I embrace corporate branding too. We embrace corporate branding.
Yeah.
I have maybe a different view on Chase. So he's done almost, not exclusively, but it's been a very targeted focus. Like, he's mostly gone to gay pride events and he's done some very small meetups, very small. Less than 20 people usually at each event. And I know because I see the photos and people talk to me about it. But I mean, I think he's done a fantastic job of helping Donald Trump get elected. It couldn't have been better. When the Trump campaign reached out to me and they were like, because I was talking to them the entire convention. They're like, how's it going? Are you getting reelected? Are you getting the people you want on the LNC? Like, how's Rechtenwald doing? And I'm like, oh, there was a whole thing, Gummygate, there's this and that. And they're like, well, keep us posted, And finally I was like, Chase Oliver got the nomination. They were like, oh, yes, thank you. They were stoked. They were like, this is the best. When I did my video endorsement, they were like, this is amazing. This is solid gold. So, I mean, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, like, to the delegates who had so much hubris that they only wanted to do outreach for somebody that the broader libertarian movement was going to reject. Yeah. Thank you, because you helped make the Trump campaign so much better.
Yeah.
And you helped secure his win. So you really did. You really did help Trump. Help Trump's campaign.
It's funny. I'm Facebook friends with a lot of people who. I'm pretty low profile on social media, and if they knew who I was, they definitely would unfriend me. But a lot of the left libertarians, which I'm not for like purging all of them from the party at all, but the ones who are like the most performative in their anti-Trump stuff, they are. I'm not going to name anybody, but some of those people were the actual ringleaders in the illegal, improper stuff that got Chase elected. And they are going to get Trump reelected. but they're going to sleep well at night because they're crazy. One last thing on Chase. In Tennessee, it's absurdly easy to get on the ballot. You need 275 signatures and I don't know, was 5 million people here.
A little bit.
Yeah.
I know some people who, there were people in the LNC actually who tried to petition for him in Tennessee, and they said it was the most difficult ask that they'd ever had. It was as difficult as petitioning for the Libertarian Party in a Black neighborhood in DC, which is notoriously the hardest place to get anyone on. Right. One of the reasons, by the way, is because nobody lives in DC, and immigration status and all that. So that's, I think what it is it's really telling. It's like, it would behoove us to learn from our mistakes. From my perspective, I'm just like, this is just a fabulous 4D chess move. It's beautiful. Hats off to all the haters. Yeah. They're all gnashing their teeth and they can't understand why working class people in a red state don't want to sign to even get him on the ballot. Like, you need to sit down and like come to terms, and have a real come to Jesus moment on this. They won't, which is why the party has been the way that it's been for 50 years until we've taken leadership.
Right. And so that's a perfect way to transition to the Trump thing. So I live in northern Knox County, and, Glenn Jacobs is the mayor of the county. Tennessee is weird. They have mayors for counties as well as cities. And Trump is going to win 80% on this side of the county. And these people, again, I was explaining to a relative recently, like, why Trump is so popular. It's like, because everyone in the major media, academia, politics, both parties, basically have contempt for my neighbors. And the one guy, as imperfect as he is, who will stand up for them, they'll do anything to get him elected. And I could totally see why they wouldn't sign a petition that would even take one vote away. I don't believe in the taking votes away thing, but anyway. But the point is that for 50 years, the Libertarian Party has focused on 50 state ballot access at all costs, and that cost is usually exorbitantly high in a few states like Ohio and stuff like that. Tennessee is bad. You can get on with 275 signatures with no party label, but to get the Libertarian label, we've got to get a football stadium's worth of signatures. So we've done this. We've been on this hamster wheel. It's demoralizing. Nobody wants to get in and do work because the work is quite literally useless. And so what you've done, and I quite frankly haven't agreed with every single little thing you've done, but the overall strategy of trying to influence the fact that, hey, we are in a two-party system. One day that might change. The Republican Party, I think, is dying. Within 10 or 20 years, it'll be something else. Hopefully it'll be a Libertarian Party. But to try to influence what's going on the way RFK and his movement did, the way the Ross Perot movement did, is maybe it won't work, but maybe it might. So talk to me about why you've gone down this road, and what the thinking was, and then some of the successes so far have been obvious, but I'll let you list them. So why this shift, and why do you think it's right for the LP?
Okay, so the Trump campaign reached out to me almost a year ago at this point. And they basically said, like, we want your votes. We want your endorsement. We want your support. What do we get? What can we do? What can we do to get that? They didn't start out with a super strong ask, but somebody flew out to meet me, and Donald Trump called me, and I had a 45-minute unscripted surprise phone call from Donald Trump. He was super friendly. I would call him warm and grandfatherly. Of course, he did ask for, endorsements, and is like, what can I do? What can I do? Right. But it wasn't like high pressure sales. It was just kind of charming and funny, and I was like, I can't I can't give you like a flat out endorsement. You know, I'm the chair of a competing political party, but I can tell you what I can do, and I can tell you how to win the Libertarian, the small L votes.
Yeah.
You know, and so we were talking, you know, we had a good conversation. So I flew down there the next month, and the accusations are that I had a luxury trip to Mar-a-Lago, which is not what I had. I had to pay for my own plane ticket right before Christmas. So that was a little bit of a financial stretch, but it was important, right? And so I just went with 2 asks, and I was told, you know, like, Trump loves to make deals. He's not like a regular politician. He's a deal maker. So you need to make an ask, and make as big of an ask as you think you can get, like ask for the moon. And so I really just had 2 asks. It was free Ross Ulbricht and free Julian Assange. Ross Ulbricht was an immediate yes. We had a long conversation about it at dinner, and I asked about Julian Assange, and that was a maybe. And there were people with me there on his team who agreed with me and pushed. They said, you should do this, which shows that there is a major shift within the people that he has surrounded himself with. And I think that's like, it was right there. They didn't have to do that right in front of me and have like, you know, like a little back and forth on whether or not it was a good idea. You know, and so I just kind of stayed in touch with them, and he wanted to speak at our convention. It was like, yeah, like, if you'll agree to free Ross Ulbricht at our convention, like, you should come speak. And so, you know, we kind of unveiled that at the last minute. And also I'm kind of wondering, like, what if it falls apart? You know, how early do I want to announce this? And then they're like, oh, we got something else going on. He did it. He came down and he made some other, you know, campaign promises to me, abolishing the Department of Education, putting a libertarian in the cabinet. I don't have a particular individual, you know, lined up, and, you know, like, I've got like a name of suggestions and stuff, but there's no one in the bag yet. He's been
Mike Termott for justice. Come on.
He's been very careful to not do any kind of quid pro quo tit for tat. You know, people are like, oh, it's not true. He doesn't. Well, you know, how would you know, rando on the internet? I think I would know better than you. Yeah. So yeah, and we've fed the campaign like information about libertarianism and things that we care about. And, you know, you could say that those are talking points, but it seems very well received, and a lot of information about deregulation in particular. Some comments about foreign policy, and I don't think we're going to get 100% on foreign policy. Yeah, but we're going to get something else, right? The Department of Education being abolished, like, they want that. Yeah. They want to get rid of it as much as possible, you know, basically strip it down to any legislative barrier, and then even attack that. Okay. And, you know, like, it seems like it's paying off and that it's worthwhile. I've spoken with Vivek's people, and, you know, like, I know Kennedy and Tulsi, you know, and it doesn't, every which way I work it seems authentic and sincere. Yeah. What are you going to do? Like, I think this is the right call for the country. And it's the right call for the party. When have we ever had an impact at the federal level?
Yeah, I agree. And that's the calculation for me, is like the fact that, like, you know, what the Colorado LP is doing with, like, hey, striking a deal with the GOP, or they're open to with the Democrats, like, hey, if you'll sit down with us, listen to our issues, and pledge to do certain things, we won't put anybody on the ballot. So, like, they're not, like, you know, for no reason, they're getting promises. And then if that person gets in and gets elected and breaks those promises, then they're going to put resources into getting that person out of office. So as long as you're not, you know, rolling over for nothing, if you're actually negotiating and using the little tiny bit of leverage that we have, that's something. And so, like, I hate the Republican Party so much, even more than the Democrats, just from personal history. But the Trump thing is different. And again, Trump is not I'm not going to vote. I'm not going to vote this year. I can't bring myself to vote for him, and it doesn't matter. It's Tennessee anyway. But the fact that he will at least listen and take our calls, or in this case, actually make a call to
100%.
us, like, why would you not take that? So like during, in the lead up to the convention, I had a couple people from the RFK campaign, like, hey, could we get the Mises Caucus basically to support RFK for the nomination? I was like, yeah, probably not. I'm against it, but I'll sit down and talk to you. And it never really went anywhere. But like, I'll talk to anybody, if only to just, see, something good may come of it, something may not. So I think you're doing the right thing here. Um, what, so I'll play a little bit of devil's advocate, somebody who is maybe a libertarian and much more skeptical of Trump. Okay, so he's making all these promises. What happens if, he gets in, he totally ignores this, breaks all the promises, and you've tarnished the reputation of the LP for, sitting down with this guy?
Well, I think that we've still gained more political relevance than the party, and at least since 1980 and Ed Clark's presidential run.
Yeah,
I think it's still 100% worth it.
Yeah.
We influenced a campaign. We got libertarian talking points into the national zeitgeist. We established a precedent that if you want our attention, you have to come and speak at our convention. We are simultaneously the most powerful voting bloc and the least likely to get elected in the country. And that's incredible.
Yeah.
I think that the whole thing is super worthwhile if he just keeps one promise.
Yeah.
He just keeps one. If he just frees Ross Ulbricht.
Yeah.
All worthy. Free our political prisoner.
Yeah.
And he repeated that at the Bitcoin conference, and he's repeated it on Truth Social and on Twitter. Yeah. I mean, that's like pretty huge.
Yeah. No, and building relationships, you have to trust somebody when they're maybe not trustable in the beginning, and let them prove themselves or not. And if you never take that step, you're never going to build anything.
It's at a certain point. What did Michael Heiss had a really good quote on it? It was like party apparatus over principle or something, partisanship over principle.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's not the way to go. I have to do what I think is in the best interest of the party as the leader of the party. And I think this was in the best interest of our organization and in the interest of liberty.
Right. And if it works this time, we'll have more leverage for next time.
100%.
So
we're just building, it's just get a foot in the door. Can we get a foot in the door?
Well, talking about, zeitgeist, talk about the other, in addition to RFK, who we've kind of already mentioned, but like the Rage Against the War Machine stuff, and like, who else are you talking to, and who else is now willing to partner in coalition with Mises Caucus, Libertarian Party?
Well, I mean, I had this whole event called Rescue the Republic. And, we had libertarian leaning, essentially, the thought leaders from all over the country and some from Europe and even like the Middle East come and talk at this huge event. Jordan Peterson, Russell Brand, Jack Posobiec, Jimmy Dore, Zuby. It was incredible. We had like 40,000 people at this event in DC during a rainy weather on fairly short notice. And the Libertarian Party got to be the only political organization out there doing outreach, tabling. Like the Republicans have things like Turning Point USA. They have nonprofits, they have C3s, they have C4s attached to them. The Libertarian Party has nothing. So I built all of these outreach tools to basically prop up the LP. And I think it's been wildly successful. I'm super excited. I hope that the people who go into leadership after me, and I do plan to do successorship and training, continue to take advantage of these tools that I've built. Single issue coalitions on the anti-war movement, coalitioning on free speech, medical freedom. There's so many amazing things have happened over the last just few months.
Yeah, and just as you were talking about if Trump gets in and tries to abolish the Department of Education, that's something obviously we can be a part of, trying to as the Mises Caucus trying to lobby at the, our whoever makes those decisions, and our local congressmen and stuff like that. Like our organization can help with that, just like we've helped with Defend the Guard and stuff like that. So I'm cautiously optimistic. Like I'm by nature a pessimist, and occasionally I'm pleasantly surprised. And so I think there's obviously a good chance that Trump's going to win. And if Ross is indeed freed, that would be great. And just it's both substantive and symbolic at the same time. And
yeah,
I think just a potentially, and again, that's what I want to go back to, is the fact that, again, when I was Central Committee chair in Ohio, I saw a constant churn of activists and volunteers coming in, being optimistic, and then ballot access sucks. We're in court with the state. We lose because, these corrupt judges in federal court, and people, then they walk back out because nothing ever gets done. And the only people who stay are the people who it's their alternative. It's like Dungeons and Dragons people without as much personality, right? Like it's their hobby, and they stick with that. And that is not going to reach. You're not going to build a wider movement on that, because nobody likes to go to bylaws meetings and stuff like that.
Well, they do.
Nobody normal who's productive.
Yeah, because it's not meant for normal productive people. It's meant for bylaws weirdos. So it's like the Libertarian Party. It is, speaking of Dungeons and Dragons, here's my analogy. This is what the party has become. Mm-hmm. You sit down to play Dungeons and Dragons. Most people are somewhat familiar. Think any board game, any tabletop game, any RPG game you can think of. That's what the party is, right? You sit down to play the game, and you have a dispute with the dungeon master, the person who makes the rules. And, some of the people playing the game are fairly new. They don't understand the rules. They disagree about how it should be run. So you're like, okay, you know what? We're going to settle this. We're going to sit down and we're going to have like a little meeting to discuss and really fully flesh out the rules so everyone understands it. And gradually, week after week, instead of meeting to play your game, you meet to play the rules.
Yeah.
And your game becomes the rules. And the real game is lost. And you just show up to play the rules. And that's what the Libertarian Party has become. The people who are obsessed with bylaws and Robert's Rules of Order, it's a game.
Yeah. And obviously, those people are valuable if they buy into the overall mission and don't get in the way of that. Like, there are people like I could never ever do that, because my attention span is just like, no, I don't care. Let's just, you just tell me how we're doing this and let's do it. But again, for too long, those people have, it's a total, buzzkill when new people walk into that and they see that. And now on top of that, now there's like the lawfare angle.
Yeah.
So I know we got to be whatever, but like what?
Well, So I've been sued twice by the Ronar cult people, the social club people. I anticipate a third lawsuit soon, probably for defamation, from one of those same individuals. They're just profoundly unserious. They basically do the work of the regime.
Yeah.
And I just, by the way, got my first response to a FOIA request today. The FBI is working on compiling responses to my request for all of the information that they have on our elections going from 2016 to the present, our internal convention elections.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. So we'll see, we'll see what comes up. I don't anticipate getting a lot more than, article clippings and things of that nature, but they have it.
The fact that there's something to compile, right? That's
they do care. They do. I think that they're very interested in the cult of Ronar people, in the bylaws nerds, in who gets elected. I'm sure that they probably were not happy with my election.
Yeah.
Interesting how Nick Sarwark, ran 3 terms. And we'll see what they turn up on him, because I've had all kinds of interesting creative FOIA requests go in the last few days.
I'm gonna let you slip that one. That's one of the 2 names I've banned on this show that people aren't allowed to say.
Well, it's related to lawfare, and
No,
that's
I know.
an individual, who is funding the lawfare against me right now.
No, right.
Yeah.
That it is amazing. And yeah, I have gone months without even thinking that guy
He's
existed.
angry. He's angry that Ross might get freed. It's all just like self-serving, ego, and or Fed behavior.
Well, I mean, yeah, if you're a member of the intelligence community, of course you'd be mad that Ross would be freed. Okay, so I'm going to have to feed a baby here in about 15 or 20 minutes, and there's lots more I wanted to talk about. But one obvious thing is, you mentioned who's chair next. So that means you're not running. No. Tell everybody when the next convention is and what we need to do as Mises Caucus and as normal libertarians who, there's normal good libertarians who are not Mises Caucus. So what do we need to be doing to prepare for? It's in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right?
Yeah, so it's in Grand Rapids, Michigan, Memorial Day weekend, pretty sure, 2026. You need to join the party, and you need to show up.
Yep.
This is like, there's been so much drama. We had some numbers drop because, a lot of the marketing channels that we were using kind of dried up. And so membership has been a little down. I got to tell you guys, it doesn't work. All of the work that I've done, all of the power that we've accumulated completely folds if you just go join the GOP. Yep. That's not how this works. You need to join the LP, show up to meetings at least a few times a year, show up to your convention, your state convention, become a delegate, go to the national convention. That's what you need to do. You want to see more political prisoners get freed? I'm going to be working on Roger Ver's case next. I'm trying to get Julian Assange an official pardon. There's a lot of stress over the Mike Pompeo comments right now. I'm working on that. I'm trying to work on a Ron Paul thing. Like, there's so much amazing stuff that I'm doing right now. Some of it I can talk about, some of it I can't. I'll share after the election, but all of that goes away. It dies if you don't show up to the national convention in 2026.
What's the Mike Pompeo thing? I haven't heard about that.
Trump has made some kind of, positive comments about Mike Pompeo.
Oh, okay.
So it's a battle for influence, right? And it all has to be done respectfully while showing appreciation for the good things he's done, that you don't get to just go in and trash the man after he's done all the great stuff he's done. It takes diplomacy. If you want to see me be able to continue that, we've got to continue having a powerful Libertarian Party. Donate, right? Please go to lp.org. Join, re-up your membership, $25 a year, whatever you can do. Like, we need you to keep advancing liberty.
And you mentioned something that's been a real big disappointment for me, is kind of the realization that for a lot of liberty activists, so we talked about the hardcore inter-party cultist types, but the other type of libertarian that is disappointing, and almost like more disappointing to me because of the potential, is like I miss, to use a George W. Bush word, I misunderestimated how many libertarians, it's that the whole liberty thing is basically a form of entertainment for them.
Yes.
Like they listen to podcasts and they share memes and it's fun. And when their particular podcaster loses interest in actually doing things for liberty, and don't get me started, then if that person moves on, then a lot of other people are like, oh yeah, that was dumb anyway, I never wanted to do that. So those of you who still actually want to actually change things, I don't think, with what Angela was saying, I don't think people realize how absurdly easy it is to get some things done with minimal effort. You show up, you pay your, I pay my state dues in Tennessee, and at the national party, you can get that done for a minimum of $50 per year. Go to some meetings, even if you can't make either your state or national convention because of the scheduling, you give $100 to somebody to pay for their hotel room or something.
Yep.
We need basically 700 people to completely drive all these horrible people out of the party, to get a lot of reforms done within the party. And, Reno was step one. We should have completed it here in DC, but it is so close and takes just such a minimal, you don't have to spend 40 hours a week at this like some of our board members and state organizers do. It's 40 hours a year, and you get to hang out with people who are cool. So I guess we have to do a better job as the caucus, just like you're, trying to inspire people as well at the party level. And obviously the Mises Caucus has been the largest recruiter to the LP over the last 5 years. Yep. So we're encouraging that too. But like, it is actually easy and fun if you are willing to, if you're, again, minimal effort. And in some ways, I'm glad that the people who are just in it for the memes and the entertainment are gone. But that means the people who are still interested, you got to step up. And so how are you going to, in addition to what we've talked about, like how after the election, what is the plan for the LP as far as what the party's going to be doing, and then how to inspire people to support that? And I know what Mike Heiss is doing is part of that. So what's your map forward from post-election onto Grand Rapids?
Well, we are recruiting people to run successful local elections, to run successful campaigns and actually win. Mm-hmm. But I mean, we're really going to see what happens after the election. Some of that is going to carve the trajectory of the party. If we get a major libertarian into a cabinet position and some outward facing, White House staff positions, we'll probably be winning federal races in 2 cycles. Mm-hmm. Like, it just depends. I mean, it'll throw, like, this was a black swan event, right? It was crazy. And so you don't know what's available to you until the opportunity like really presents itself. Yeah. At the very least, we'll be winning local elections, but we could be winning federal campaigns soon. Who do you want to see be the next vice president? Did you know we had influence in JD Vance's pick?
Okay.
Like, libertarians weren't going to be excited about Tim Scott. That's not going to push us over the edge.
I'm not excited. What am I missing on JD Vance? I think he's horrible. I don't know what's every time I don't pay much attention, but like he's what's good about him. I mean, I'm not challenging you. I'm just like genuinely like what's good about him.
Maybe we need someone who's not a pessimist for that part of the conversation. Okay. I am much happier with a JD Vance pick than an institutionalized conservative boomer.
He's close to that, but I'll keep my eyes open, I guess. But
he's like 39 or 40 years old.
Isn't he like totally pro-Israel and all that stuff, though?
Oh, you got to lower your standards, my friend.
Okay, well,
yeah.
Okay, well,
we'll do a second one. Maybe Liam can help me break that down.
Yeah,
and explain it.
Yeah, I need to talk to Liam anyway. But yeah, sorry to harsh your mellow there, but like I don't like the guy. But again, I'm the most. I hate Republicans. Did you?
No black pills. This is a no black pill zone. If you get someone who says that he's willing to have a conversation with Ron Paul as the vice president, that's a good sign.
Yeah, all right. If that's what he said, that's good. So, but like, tell us what Mike is doing, because that's kind of like what we've been doing with the caucus, the PDR, Project Decentralized Revolution.
So he's working on candidate support right now. He is building out a huge team of volunteers to help identify winnable races at the local level and to recruit candidates. We've got an incredible stack of tools, candidate websites, campaign trainings, all kinds of really good stuff, materials. So when you go to run in the next election cycle, you'll be well equipped, and we're going to help identify races that you can actually win.
Yeah. And so those races are, again, notwithstanding things that could happen, but as far as the landscape as we know it now, those races are not usually big state house races or Congress.
No, local, so city, some county level.
Yeah. And there's some analysis required on like what's the actual lay of the land and things like that, which is what we've been doing in the Mises Caucus. We had some success, but I think it's better that the party's doing that. And I think it's going to be, great. Unfortunately, again, some people don't think that is like exciting enough for them.
Yeah, I think it's not. And that's why we also have this amazing thing happening at the federal level, like it's a 1-2 punch.
Well, yeah. That's what I've always encouraged people. It's like, if you want, we're not going to have 20 libertarians in Congress 2 years from now. So we really do have to, the Project Decentralized Revolution documents on our website. And that was Mike, and with some input from me and Dave Hines on like our strategy. And that, again, that combined with what you've been able to do, I think the LP is going to be in a lot better shape 10 years from now than what it would have been had, I can't even remember who else ran for chair this last couple of times, but seemed like there was like maybe one more thing that I had to ask about, but I don't know. Is there what else? What do you think is going to happen with this election? Like, do you think it's going to be not close enough to steal, or like, what's your predictions?
I hope it's not close enough to steal. I feel like it's going to be not close at all, but then they're going to try to steal it, and so then it'll be close. So go out and vote. There's my cringe get out the vote comment. It feels really weird, very uncomfortable.
Yeah, it's not going to work on me. I'm too busy to actually go these days, but
oh my gosh, Aaron on his demoralization train. Make sure to preach the gospel of Chase Oliver to all of your progressive friends.
Yeah,
Chase is much better on the Israel-Palestine issue than Kamala Harris is. If you are a true progressive, if you are a good moral person who is also a progressive, you will go vote for Chase Oliver and not Kamala Harris.
Yeah. Oh, the last question I wanted to ask, and there's one Republican who besides Thomas Massey, who's awesome, but Vivek, I've been very intrigued by him, and like I would love to see, just as though in a dream world, it would be RFK running for the Democrats in 4 years and Vivek running for the Republicans. Like, what? Give me your take on Vivek and his future within the party, who I think there's a lot of people in that party who are going to want to vanquish him. So let's have that be our last topic. So what do you think?
Well, Vivek he's an up and comer. And so we need to encourage him to stay with it. There's going to be, I think, a really intense competition for the next presidential nomination, probably between Vivek, Tulsi, and Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
Yeah.
So choose your fighter and then cheer them on from within the LP.
Yeah. So
do it that way.
You think Tulsi? Where do you think RFK and Tulsi would run from? One of the two parties, or
Tulsi's already joined the GOP.
Oh, she has.
Okay. Yeah, you missed a lot of major news over the weekend.
No, I've missed a lot of major news over the last 5 months.
Over the last weekend, there was a lot of crazy stuff. There was J.D. Vance, talking about Ron Paul, saying he agreed with them on the Federal Reserve. There was Tulsi Gabbard joining the GOP. Vivek, we still don't know if he's going to run for Senate or do something in the cabinet. I hope he takes a cabinet position, because he'll be able to do so much more as opposed to just being one senator and a sea of 100 people.
If you were picking, what cabinet position would he be most effective at?
DHS, Department of Homeland Security.
Okay. That's good. How is he on like monetary policy?
He's great on monetary policy.
Like Ron Paul great, or like
pretty close. It's hard to find another Ron Paul, but he's out of the Mises Institute.
Okay. All right. So he's at least amenable to at least like auditing or reforming, if not
100%. Yeah. He's been very like audit the Fed.
Okay, that's great. I appreciate your time. I'm sorry that, we've both had lots of scheduling stuff lately, so we got a chance to reconnect. And I do appreciate. So the one thing I do want to say personally is, like, I do appreciate people who stand up and take a lot of crap from a lot of people in a lot of different ways, including ways that can affect your actual, you know, the way you make your living and even the safety of your family in some ways. So,
Yep, I'll never work another corporate job.
but, like, I really do appreciate the fact that that you've been willing to stand up and take a lot of that when a lot of people aren't. Whatever the caucus can do to continue to support you between now and Grand Rapids, obviously you've got anything that we're able to give. So I really appreciate it, Angela.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and I hope we continue to work closely together and make the next couple of years a real